The panel listened, took notes, nodded. After 45 minutes, they called for a break. Nathan walked out with his phone glued to his hand. I stayed behind. Denise looked up from her notebook. "You've worked with Mr. Blair before, haven't you?" I met her eyes. "He was my boss once. He fired me." A pause. She nodded slowly, then glanced at the door where Nathan had exited. "That explains a few things." That's when I knew I didn't just hold my ground in that room. I'd earned their trust. Not with charm, not with degrees or buzzwords, with clarity, calm, and proof of the kind of leader I was. The kind Nathan only pretended to be. Later that day, I got the call. Offer extended. Director of Operations, full benefits, signing bonus, and a dotted line report. Nathan Blair. 3 weeks later, I walked through the front doors of my new company, this time with a badge that opened every room. The title on the welcome banner outside my office read Director of Operations. But what it really meant was I was back. Only this time, I wasn't climbing the ladder, I was the ladder. Nathan joined the team a week after me, slotted as a consultant reporting into my division on a transitionary contract. I knew the language. It meant he was on a trial leash, and it was my hand holding it. I almost laughed when I saw the setup. He didn't even get an office, just a desk in the open floor with the rest of the staff. They gave me the corner with glass walls and a full view of the floor, including his seat. Our first official meeting was a status update on the logistics streamlining project, the one we'd pitched in the panel interview. I was leading it. He was support. I opened the meeting, laid out the roadmap, and when I got to the vendor analysis section, I turned to him. "Nathan, anything to add?" He cleared his throat. "Nope, you covered it." I nodded. "Then let's move on." The staff barely blinked, but I saw a few glances. They all knew the pecking order now. Respect wasn't declared, it was earned. And the difference between the two of us was suddenly, painfully clear to everyone. Over the next month, I built trust with the team. One problem solved, one conversation at a time. I wasn't there to play hero. I asked questions, listened, and made sure every win was shared. I kept my office door open, walked the floor daily, and took notes on whiteboards with the junior analysts. People responded. You could feel it. For the first time in months, there was momentum, and it didn't come from micromanagement or fear, it came from leadership. The real kind. Nathan, meanwhile, floundered. He showed up late to meetings, offered vague ideas, tried to bluff through metrics he didn't understand. I didn't have to undermine him. He did it himself. I just held the mirror. Eventually, Denise called me into her office. She asked, "Do we need him?" I took a long breath. "No," I said. "Not anymore." That Friday, Nathan was let go. No press release, no send-off email, just a quiet exit at 4:45 p.m. He didn't even say goodbye. I stood at my window as he walked to the parking lot. For a second, I felt something that surprised me. Not satisfaction, but release. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just watched the man who once ended my career walk out of mine. The switch had flipped. And this time, I was the one in control. The office was quiet the Monday after Nathan left. No tension, no forced chatter. Just work getting done. That's how I knew we'd turned a corner. Culture doesn't change overnight, but it does shift when fear leaves the room. I didn't mention his name again. I didn't need to. The team leaned in without prompting, took initiative, asked questions, offered ideas. One of the junior analysts, a guy named Trevor, even stayed late to show me a reporting tool he'd built on his own. The stuff that didn't happen under Nathan was suddenly just happening, because people felt safe again, empowered, like they mattered. A month later, Denise called me into her office again. "I've been watching the numbers," she said, sliding a folder across the table. "Warehouse efficiency is up 18%. Turnovers dropped to near zero, and more importantly, your team likes coming to work again." I opened the folder. A new contract. Vice President of Operations. Full exec package. Equity track. "I'm offering you the job we were hoping Nathan would grow into," she said. "Only you've already done it in half the time." I sat there for a moment, running a hand across the title. I thought back to that Tuesday morning when I walked out of a job with a cardboard box and hollow lungs. Thought about how far I'd fallen, and how much further I'd climbed. "I'm in," I said. She smiled. "I thought you would be." That night, I drove home in silence. No music, no phone, just the sound of tires on pavement and a heart finally at peace. When I pulled into the driveway, Rachel met me outside, eyes wide. "You got it?" she asked. I didn't speak. I just handed her the contract. She read the first line, then looked up and smiled like I hadn't seen her smile since the day we bought this house. "You're really back," she said. "No," I told her. "I'm somewhere better." Later, sitting on the back porch with a glass of bourbon, I thought about Nathan, about all the people like him, the ones who think power comes from titles and control. They never get it. Leadership isn't about wielding authority. It's about carrying responsibility, about standing back up when someone tries to break you and walking forward with your chin up. He fired me thinking he'd buried me. But I was a seed, and now I'd grown into something he could never be, a real leader. They say revenge isn't a career plan. I disagree. Sometimes it's the only thing that keeps you from falling apart. When a man rips your future out from under you for no reason, on a random Tuesday no less, you either crumble or rebuild. I chose the latter, one calculated brick at a time. Has anything like this ever happened to you, where a boss who once fired you ended up working under you later? Or a moment where life brought you full circle in an unexpected way? Drop a comment and let me know what time it is where you are and where you're watching from. I see every one of you. My name's Adam Carter. I'm 34 years old, born and raised in Ohio, and for most of my adult life, I believed in the system. Do good work, be loyal, don't cut corners, success will follow. That's what my dad taught me, working nights at the steel mill until his knees gave out. I didn't follow him into the mill, but I stayed blue-collar in spirit. Earned a business degree, worked my way up through the ranks in manufacturing operations, and by my early 30s, I was running a whole division. Not bad for a kid who'd once sold tires at a Sears auto center. For years, things were good. I led a team of 20, we hit our numbers, and people liked working under me. I wasn't flashy. No MBA, no corporate jargon, just results. My team was tight, morale was strong, and our turnover rate was practically zero. Then came Nathan Blair, newly hired VP slick suit, southern charm, fast-talking and always looping people in, and driving alignment. I saw through it right away. Nathan wasn't here to lead. He was here to climb. He didn't waste time making waves either. He started cleaning house. Long-timers, high performers, didn't matter. If they didn't kiss the ring or fit his style, they were out, one by one. I kept my head down, kept doing the job, but I could feel it coming. You can always feel it coming. The long pauses in meetings when he looked at me, the passive-aggressive emails copied to people they didn't need to go to. I wasn't dumb. I was just hoping I could hold on until August, when my 5-year vesting would kick in and lock my pension benefits. Just a few more months. Instead, on April 2nd, a regular Tuesday, quiet morning, he called me into his office. HR was already there. The wording was cold. We're restructuring this department to align with new strategic goals. No performance review, no warning, just a printed packet and a cardboard box. They let me clear my desk under supervision. 15 years of work reduced to a box of office supplies and a security badge. I didn't even get to say goodbye to my team. That drive home, I couldn't feel my hands. I wasn't angry yet, just numb. I kept thinking of how close I'd come. 3 damn months from the finish line. My wife, Rachel, opened the door before I knocked. She didn't even ask what happened. She could see it in my eyes. That night, I sat on the porch with a bottle of whiskey and stared into the dark until the sun came up. Nathan thought he'd ended me. He didn't know he'd just started something. For a few weeks, I drifted. Unemployed at 34 wasn't exactly where I thought I'd be. I applied for a few roles, went on some half-hearted interviews, but my confidence was shot. Every time I sat across from some young recruiter who barely looked up from their laptop, I felt like I was begging for something I'd already earned. I kept replaying that moment in Nathan's office, how he looked me in the eye like he was doing me a favor. It was Emma, my little sister, not the college student I still imagined in my head, who finally snapped me out of it. She was visiting from Denver and caught me in sweatpants at 2 p.m., surrounded by half-finished job applications and cold coffee. She sat across from me at the kitchen table and said, "You know, maybe you don't need to find another job. Maybe you need to take one back." That line stayed with me. I knew I couldn't go back to the same company. That ship had sunk. But Nathan hadn't gone anywhere. Not yet. And I knew him well enough to guess his next move. Guys like him never stay in one place long. They squeeze what they can out of a position, pad their resume, and leapfrog up the ladder. So I did something I'd never done before. I started watching him. LinkedIn, Glassdoor, company press releases. I set up Google alerts with his name. Nothing obsessive, just curious. A month passed. Then 2. I started freelancing to pay the bills. Small operations gigs, logistics consulting. I had enough contacts from my years in the business to land work. The money wasn't great, but it was mine. And every day I worked, I rebuilt a little more of myself. Then, one afternoon in July, I got the alert. Nathan Blair had stepped down from his position and was now seeking new executive opportunities. It was classic corporate PR speak for forced out. I dug deeper. Rumors of poor leadership, high turnover, declining performance. Nothing confirmed, but enough smoke to guess the fire was real. He'd tanked the place, just like I figured. And that's when the spark hit the powder. Because 3 days later, I saw a posting for a director of operations role at a growing logistics firm across town. And guess who was listed in the applicants on LinkedIn? Nathan Blair. I stared at the screen for a long time, then clicked Apply. I didn't just want the job. I wanted the throne Nathan thought he deserved. But if I was going to beat him, I had to be strategic. This wasn't some showdown in a parking lot. It was war in a boardroom. And wars are won with intel, timing, and a damn good suit. The company was a mid-sized logistics and supply firm, privately held, expanding fast. From the job description, they were looking for someone to tighten operations during growth. A perfect fit for my skill set. I read every word of their last 5 press releases, reverse-engineered their org chart, and even found a podcast where their CEO had been interviewed 6 months prior. I wanted to know how they thought, what they needed, and how I could be the solution. I built a tailored resume that spoke their language, highlighting my experience managing multi-site operations, cutting waste, and building teams that lasted. But I didn't stop there. I recorded a 2-minute intro video. Just me in a plain room, no gimmicks, speaking directly to the leadership team. I told them who I was, what I'd done, and what I could do for them. It was real, grounded, and unapologetically me. No fluff. 2 days later, I got the call. Phone interview, then Zoom with the COO, then an in-person with the executive team. Every step I came prepared. I didn't badmouth Nathan, not once. I didn't need to. I knew his type, all polish, no roots, and I knew these folks would see it too, if given the choice. The final interview was with the CEO, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Denise Monroe. She greeted me with a firm handshake and led me into a glass-walled conference room overlooking the warehouse floor. We talked for over an hour. She asked smart questions, the kind that cut through the surface and went for the marrow. I respected that. At the end, she leaned back in her chair, arms folded, and said, "One of our other candidates has a Harvard MBA and Fortune 500 background. Why should I pick you?" I didn't hesitate. Because I've done the work, not just written about it. I've stood in loading bays in January with frost on my beard and stayed past midnight fixing broken processes. Because I know how to lead people without fear, and how to grow without losing what makes a team strong. And because the last time someone chose polish over grit, they ended up back on the job market in 6 months. She smiled, just a flicker. Noted. As I walked out of the building, I didn't know if I'd gotten it. But for the first time since Nathan fired me, I felt whole again. Like I'd climbed out of the hole with my own 2 hands. And I'd done it without compromise. What I didn't know yet, what made the next part so much sweeter, was that Nathan had made it to the final round too. And they wanted us both, in the same room. The email came on a Monday morning. Subject line, Final Executive Assessment, In-Person Panel. The kind of corporate speak that sounds sterile until you realize it means you're one of the last 2. I read it 3 times, then spotted the small print. You will be joined by another finalist for a group strategy exercise. I knew immediately who it was. There's no mistaking the stench of full circle karma. I got to the office 20 minutes early, crisp navy suit, clean shave, tie knotted tight, battle armor. The receptionist led me to a waiting room with glass walls. The moment the door opened, I saw him. Nathan Blair. Same smug grin, same tailored look. But something was off. Less shine in his eyes, a bit of puff under them. He looked tired. Good. He blinked when he saw me, like his brain short-circuited trying to make the connection. I smiled first. Nathan? Adam, he said, recovering. Didn't expect to see you here. Same, I lied. I'd been planning for this moment for weeks. We shook hands. His was clammy, mine was steady. They brought us into a boardroom where 3 executives waited. Denise among them. We were given a case study. A fictional company was hemorrhaging money from its warehouse operations. We had to collaborate and pitch a turnaround strategy together. It was awkward at first. Nathan tried to dominate the discussion, throwing around jargon like synergize throughput and agility metrics. I let him run with it for 5 minutes, then calmly dissected his points and brought the room back to practical solutions. Real ones. He wanted to automate everything, lay off staff, and outsource logistics overseas. I countered with a phased cost reduction plan, internal team restructuring, and lean process optimization. Things I'd actually done before. When he tried to interrupt, I didn't raise my voice. I just looked at him the way he used to look at me, polite, but firm.